Anybody guess the year? What did you say then? 1700? There goes your free drink later, I'm telling you. Although I'm from Wales, I live in Spain these days, and I was very lucky that Elton John was on tour in the area that I live in Spain. I managed to get backstage. I went to the concert, got backstage to meet him. As we met, as he greeted me, he kissed me on both cheeks, as the Spanish do. But I was tying my shoelace up at the time. Just thinking about that, this sort of thing. A couple of stories about my mother. She's very intelligent, but she's a little bit like Mrs. Malaprop. She sort of gets the words wrong and says the wrong thing at the wrong time. For example, she says things like, "Oh, there was terrible flatulence on the aeroplane." Of course, she means turbulence. Another little story about my mother. My mum and dad were driving along the freeway once, and they were stopped by the police. And my dad wound the window down. The officer came over. He said, "Sir, you were doing 40 miles an hour in a 30-mile-an-hour zone." My father said, "I was not, officer, I was doing 30. He said, "Sir, you were doing 40. He said, "Officer, I was doing 30. And my mother leans over and she says, "There's no point in arguing with him, officer, when he's been drinking." Okay, Scott, you can cut this one. Actually, when I first went over to Spain, the first 2 words I ever learnt in Spanish. The first one was the Spanish word for cheese, which is queso, and I also knew the Spanish word for wine, which is vino. So I was drunk and constipated for 2 weeks. I'm going to tell you something. Richard also has a connection with Spain. He's actually married to a female firefighter from Spain, a Spanish firefighter, female firefighter. And we've got some good news. We're celebrating. She's actually just given birth to twins, to 2 boys. Marvellous. They've called one Jose and the other one Hose B. She's just turned 80, my mother has. And so I flew over from Spain and I took her to Paris for her 80th birthday. And we were in a beautiful hotel, lovely hotel. So the first night I thought we'd go out for dinner. So my mother was getting ready in her hotel room. I went down for a drink, a pre-dinner cocktail on my own into the lobby bar. And there was a lady, I can only describe her as a lady of the night, was sitting at the bar. And she came over to me, she said to me, "How would you like to buy me a drink and take me out and wine me and dine me and then bring me back to your hotel room and spend the rest of the night with me?" I said, "Well, that's a very attractive offer, my darling, but how much would that be?" She said, "That would be $100. So I said, "Well, I'm sorry, Livy, I've only got $5 on me." So anyway, she walked away in half, so I went and I got my mother, we went out, we had a lovely dinner out, and you're getting ahead of me here, don't get ahead. So a couple of hours went past, we went back to the hotel. I said, "Come on, Mum, let's go into the lobby bar for a drink before we go to bed." And the same lady was sitting there. As I walked in, she looks at me, she looks at my mother, she looks back at me, and she says, "See what you get for $5.
I'm Scott. I'm the band leader, backing up the band, backing up Chris. It's always such a pleasure to play with him. He's such a great musician, fantastic guy. He's funny, he's so talented, and he's always just a lot of fun. So it's always a pleasure. Thanks, Chris.